Confederacy of dunks. Toronto Raptors. Scottie B. WeTheNorth, baby.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Confederacy of Dunks basketball podcast. I'm your host, Freddie Rivas, here with host and producer Andy Hull, and second time doing the podcast, I think. Curly
time.
by with Live by the Three podcast. Curly, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I don't like the fact that you waited this long to invite me back, but because
Yeah,
we
my
have such a
bad,
great
dude.
rapport,
Shots.
but because we have such a great rapport, I will happily do this pod and any future pods that you want me back on.
I messed up. I'm just gonna say it.
Hey, you know what? Hey, listen. You know what? It's deserving because you and I were supposed to do a pod, and that rescheduled pod has yet to be rescheduled. So
Mhm.
you know what? Fair is fair. The universe is balanced.
Yeah, we're honestly pretty cordial, but we're about to come to blows.
To be fair, during my tenure on this show, Curly, there's only been two other repeated guests. You are the. It's like Matt and Chelsea. I think are the only two other people that have been on here twice,
Oh,
and
okay.
you're number 3. So you're only the third repeat of a guest, and they were on before you. So it's like we're in the right order here at least.
Oh, okay. All right.
Wow. Well, you know
I
what?
graciously
Listen,
accept that.
Curly's going to be the first 3-time.
There's no one who's been on 3 times. No way, of course.
Well, I mean, like
During my tenure,
during
the Hull years, also known as the golden years.
Yeah, the Hull era.
The Hull era. You will have eras. The eras are defined by your co-hosts / producers for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
That's what the Eras tour is all about.
Yeah. Taylor Swift sings a lot of songs about us.
For sure.
Yeah.
Shout out to her. No, it's good.
Quick
she shout out.
money.
Quick shout out. She needs it.
Drop a hello.
Drop a hello. Drop a hi. Any quick message for Taylor, Curly?
Hey, if you're not playing this pod, you are missing out. Do yourself a favor.
You're serious.
That being said, to Taylor Swift, who is listening to the pod right now.
That's right.
By the way, yeah. Just a warning for the future.
Okay, yeah. Let's start with the big Raptors news. So it's off season. Scottie Barnes, not a surprise by any means, but 5-year contract, designated player. I think the high end of the contract is close to 269, 270 with a bunch of incentives. But might be closer to 225. Anyways, huge money, right? But with the cap jumping, that's sort of this is what max players are going to be paid. I think, pretty easy decision with where we're at, not really controversial at all. It's the speaking of eras, his era started last year, but it was weird because, all the stuff before, with OG and Pascal getting traded. And then, how many games did Scottie play without those guys before he broke his finger? So this feels like it's the true beginning of this era. And so I thought it would be fun to kind of try to project where Scottie Barnes might be this year. And he's a hard guy to define. So I thought it'd be fun to do a player comp and see where we're at, see what kind of arguments we can make for the type of player he is. Whether you evaluate that by the stats or the energy or whatever. Does anyone want to go first here with their Scottie Barnes player comp? Curly, you're the guest, so I probably should throw it to you.
Yeah, so I was toying with it, and I think it's very easy that we could, go the hybrid role, like the 2-for-1 or 2-player comp. Like he's a mixture of Bam and I don't know, Draymond or Giannis or something like that.
Yes,
And
yeah.
I think it's very easy when you look at style, you look at build, and there's a lot of glaring similarities. You know, neither of them are great with a shot yet. But I
Mhm.
think if we're looking at what Scotty could be on his own, I'm looking more like Grant Hill, going a little
Hmm.
throwback. This was a player. If anyone is old enough to remember, I know you guys are, but we might have some young listeners. Grant Hill didn't really specialize in anything, but he was great at a little bit of everything, kind of like a LeBron type of player. In my humble opinion, he was LeBron before LeBron. He was somebody that
Mhm.
could that. But the difference is Grant paid more attention to the defensive end of the ball, but in terms of rebounding, in terms of making his teammates better, in terms of pushing the ball in transition and just being an absolute bully in the lanes and in the paint and just navigating in the areas that Scotty is currently navigating in, I think it's a very easy comparison. So if you're looking at ceiling, like granted that Grant Hill career was cut short by injuries, but you look at any film, this is a guy that loved creating for others, which Scotty likes to do. This is a player that was very aggressive on the defensive end, and Scotty is trying to be that right now. But in terms of rebounding, being a help side defender, these are all things that Grant Hill did really, really well. And he existed in the paint. Didn't have a great 3-point shot, maybe not until the later part of his career, where he got older and kind of reinvented himself after the injuries. But I look at Scotty right now, and I'm like, there's a lot of glaring similarities there. And if Scotty
Mm. It's a great
lives up,
comp.
right, if Scotty lives up to, we're talking about a super confident kid, right? This is a player that wants to be the best. And especially he wants to be the best in Toronto. And I think at that time, I don't think there was a better player, especially coming into the league, that had such an impact on a franchise that was kind of in no man's land. And I really feel like there's some similarities between that Pistons team when they got Grant Hill and they introduced those very lovely teal jerseys with the knight on the jersey. I
Classic jerseys.
right. I see the vision.
Okay, this is fantastic. This is exactly what I was looking for, because I think, Scotty is kind of a hard guy to comp. But I think you kind of really nailed the assignment here. So, um, just for our listeners, I'm gonna read you a couple. Right. So Scotty's where was I here? Sorry. So yes, Scotty's uh year 22 season. He had 19.9 points, 6.1 assists, 8.2 steals, 1.3. Oh, sorry, 8.2 steals, 8.2 rebounds, 1.3 steals, and 1.5 blocks. So just like wildly well rounded. Um, and Grant Hill, uh, sort of from age, like he blasted out of the gates, but from age like 22 to 20, yeah, 25, before he made, or sorry, to 26, before he made a huge point jump at age 27, he had basically 21 points a game, um 8 rebounds and 7 assists, and almost 2 steals a game with almost a block a game. So this is a really good comp. Didn't really shoot, like you were saying, didn't really shoot the three at all. So yeah, this is exactly, you know, and I think really you nailed it with like the enjoyment of getting others involved and being aggressive, like in all facets of the game. Yeah, this is, I mean, I think it's better than my comp. I'll say that. But it's funny that Grant Hill didn't cross my mind.
That's a really good comp. My answer was going to be no one. But now you made me think of someone, and I have one now. But it is tough, and this is a great question, Freddie. This is a really good question because it is so difficult because he does so many things, and because the other players that are so well rounded are usually like LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo, like
Yeah,
Michael
these
Jordan.
average
Like
30 points. Yeah.
these are the players who are doing this like similar, like having sort of jack of all trades type stuff going on in their game, right? So it's really tough to be like to sit here and be like, well, the closest is LeBron James. You know, you sound like a psycho, but it's kind of true, right? Like Curly, you mentioned LeBron's like, and I that's actually the player that jumped to my mind first. But maybe hear me out here. Grant Hill, love that one. A player I've always was thought was kind of similar to Grant Hill, and now I'm looking now when you just during your whole explanation, I'm like, I'm feeling this as well. Chris Webber. Are we feeling Chris Webber a little bit?
Okay.
Okay. You
I can
know,
dig it.
not identical, but you know, we're talking about this well-rounded thing. Maybe it's a little bit more like that. You know, not the like rebound guy the same way necessarily, but still like Scotty's all over the place with that kind of thing, right? And I think actually one of the main things that makes this really difficult is obviously Scotty is still developing parts of his game, and like when he first came into the league, there were comparisons of like you mentioned Draymond, like that was I think like one of the bigger comparisons in his draft. And he's already improved past like that style. I won't say like he's a better player, you know, than Draymond or anything, but like it's more that he's improved the part of his game
his
that was
offense
similar
is already,
to Draymond's. Yeah, exactly, right. His offense is
scoring,
already eclipsing exactly what Draymond you know where his style of game was at. So that's why it's kind of tough to do that right now, because the parts that are weaker are actually improving, and they're improving quickly, you know. So now you're just looking at this guy who's like, is he good at everything, you know? I mean, obviously his jumper is like the part of his game that he's, you know, been working on the most and stuff, and that is improving. So we used to be like, who can't shoot, and now it's like, well, it's not the worst, you know. So yeah, anyways, that's why I thought maybe our boy Chris Webber. Now I did think of that on the fly, so don't at me.
great.
all you Weber heads, don't at me.
Well, all the Weber heads. So age 23 season, which is what Scotty's going into. 20 points a game, 10 rebounds, 4.5 assists, almost 2 blocks, and almost 2 steals. So yeah, it's like clearly a better rebounder than Scotty. And you know, you got to imagine Scotty had 6.1 assists last year. So, you know, I would assume that's going to go up. And I mean, if Scotty's averaging 2 steals and 2 blocks, good God. But yeah, Chris Webber, another really good comp. Okay. So I have 2. I have one that I'm going to give first because I feel like it's the more important one. Cause it's like, this is the compliment. So age, it's not 23 though. It's like he was further along in his career. So his first championship, Scottie Pippen. So this is age 26, Scottie Pippen, 21 points a game, 7.7 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, and a block. So, I mean, that to me is like the most like Scotty guy. And then, you know, yeah, like shot the 3, wasn't great at it, but was really sort of like lived in transition. And obviously was, you know, playing with the best player that, you know, ever lived. But yeah, so that's a big part of that. But
LeBron fans, here they come.
I know. You know what's funny? I'm sort of a LeBron. I'm sort of a LeBron GOAT guy, actually. But I mean, just a little GOAT tangent. I always just have it like in my mind. I'm like Kareem radio GOAT, MJ TV GOAT, LeBron internet GOAT, and no one has debated that with me. I just debate that with myself. But that's kind of how I've settled it. Like I'm like, it's just the eras are so different that I'm like, I just have them all as these like 3 GOATs in different times.
That's pretty reasonable. That's a good way to look at it, I'd say. Yeah, there's really 3 GOATs.
Yeah,
yeah, it's pretty different. Yeah.
The rules, anyways. Yeah, so that's like my compliment. One, and then I think I just want to preface this because I feel like we're in the Scottie era now, and I feel like a lot of Raptors fans are like they're touchy when it comes to Scottie and
Oh yeah.
particularly Scottie comps. So I think
Yes, they are.
this is going to come across as an insult, but it's not. It's like this is. I think it was quite comparable in a lot of ways. So, um, I'm going peak. Again, this is 26-year-old peak Josh Smith. So I know Josh Smith, it's like treadmill Hawks, right? But check
Yeah.
this out. So Josh Smith, age 26, 18.8 points, 9.6 rebounds, only 4 assists, but 1.4 steals, 1.7 blocks. Wasn't great at shooting the three. Wasn't like couldn't score like Scottie, but he had that like really well-rounded energy base game. So yeah, I mean, but I think Scottie Pippen is actually my better comp, but I feel like I've always sort of felt like there's some Josh Smith there, but I was surprised at how little assists Josh Smith had, because he did have a lot of playmaking in him, but I guess he never eclipsed 5 assists. But anyway, so for the Scottie Barnes hive, my Scottie Pippen's my real comp, but anyways, yeah, Josh Smith was sort of me searching.
I mean,
But
but
yeah,
Pippen's another one of those guys, another one of these players who was just like kind of good at everything. You know what I mean? Like,
mm-hmm.
especially for his era, like what the era sort of demanded of him. And yeah, he was just that guy who was able to fill in any given thing the team needed at the time and also be a big contributor offensively. So like, yeah, that makes total sense, and those and again, it's gonna sound nuts us comparing him to some of these really all-time great and Hall of Fame players, but that's the type. Not to say that we guarantee Scottie's going to be a Hall of Fame player by any stretch. I don't think any of us are saying that, but at the same time, that's a positive thing. I'm just sitting here listening to this now, and I'm like, hey, that's pretty good. These guys who are talking about Scottie's comparisons, and that's who we're hitting. I like that.
Yeah, I think Freddie just went the lazy route. He just looked for the best Scotty, So
Yeah, you
like,
just
who
looked
was
up
the
names.
best Scotty? Just name,
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, let's go Scotty Pippen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No. But I think we all are thinking along the same lines. And I think, like, when I first saw this question, I was like, thinking along Andy's lines. I'm like, well, Scotty might potentially be one of one. But then when you
Mm-hmm.
really go down the line, you know, uh, Chris Webber, I think that's a great comp. I think Scottie Pippen is a great comp. I think Josh Smith is a great comp. Do I think that Scottie? Well, I think Scottie will clear Josh Smith, no problem. But I will comment on his playmaking. He didn't have to do a lot of playmaking on those Hawks teams because you had Jeff Teague, you had Al
Mm-hmm.
Horford, you
ISO
had
Joe.
guys yeah, ISO Joe, but you had guys that needed the ball in their hands to be effective. So I really don't think that Josh Smith would have ever had an opportunity to eclipse that 5
Mm-hmm.
mark. Um, but I think those are all solid comparisons because when you really, really look at them, they all have this athletic build, like broad shoulders, long, like lengthy players, that could get down the floor quick. Maybe C Webb in this case, but he existed more in the paint, and he was able to accumulate all those rebounds. But I think it makes just Scottie just a little bit more impressive of what his game is because he's existing everywhere. Same with that Josh Smith energy comp, like he's everywhere. He wants to guard the best players. Is it always the best thing? No, probably not, especially when he's guarding point guards. But the fact that he wants to be everywhere instead of just being put in this box, I think is a testament to him. But I will give one honorable mention, and tell me if you guys agree or disagree. Lamar Odom, another
Hmm.
point
Ah,
forward,
yeah.
right? Though lefty, but another point forward that existed on the perimeter, existed in the paint. His game, you know, to Scottie, liked to create for others, wasn't shying away from the three when he was left open. But this was a player that was well aware of what his gifts were. He's a near 7-foot guy that can put the ball on the floor, that can get into the paint, create for others, and eventually was a better threat than he was in his later stages of his career than he was earlier on. But I think we're all speaking the same language here, that Scottie could just be this well-rounded player, and I think all our comps kind of touched on that.
It's funny that like some players statistically will look more like a Scottie comp, and then some players like just their style isn't necessarily what you would really think of right off the bat. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
Weber, to bring him up again, is like we think of him as like a real classic like power forward, but with that slashing ability that he had, and like well, Scottie has elements of that, right? Like we've all seen it so much, but but like some like one of his numbers won't be off. And when I was looking for this, and what I was going to say 0 is because like no one player to me, like there was always like one of the big stats was like different, like
Yeah.
this player shot a way better 3, or this player got more rebounds, or whatever, right? So so like statistically you can find some pretty close, but then they won't necessarily match up when you just like the eyeball test type thing. But it's a fun thing to think about. It's really neat. I like it.
Yeah, I love the Odom comp. Especially
Yeah.
when you think about sort of like those like these. I'm just looking at some of the stats here, like the Clippers. If for anyone who's watching on YouTube, but the Clippers, like, well, what was the nickname of that Clippers team with like Darius Miles? Was it like it was like
Quentin
some kind
Richardson, Elton Brand, Corey McGee.
Yeah, they had a thing. It wasn't
had a
like
name.
God.
it was something. It's gonna kill me. But
What
yeah, it
year
wasn't
is that? Is that like-
Showtime because it was that was 2000, so 2000 2001. But anyhow, yeah. So
yeah.
age 21, Odom, 17 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal and a block and a half. So that's a really good comp. Actually, was doing it earlier than Scottie. But then, age 24, 17 points, almost 10 rebounds, 4 assists. This kind of goes to your point, Andy, where like the stats, whether it's the rebounds or the assists or the points, like things, it's like the bars just don't they don't level up. And like, to your earlier point as well, Andy, like, and Curly, like thinking about like the types of well-rounded guys like this is like one guy I went down a rabbit hole looking at was Charles Barkley. And I was like, oh man, is he kind of like Charles Barkley? But like Charles Barkley, it's like, like 27 points, 30 points, like, 12 rebounds. So it's like that,
and a lot shorter.
And a lot shorter. And then, obviously Magic Johnson, but it's like Magic Johnson, like, 13 assists a game. It's like, that just is not, the thing. It's not, Scottie can pass, but he it's not 13 assists a game. Like,
but that, like, are we comparing like styles of game more so than like actual players? Like I saw it as like styles versus like greatness, like
styles. Yeah.
But
styles,
that is why I kind of shied away from somebody like LeBron and like Giannis and that type of thing. But like, but yeah, because like, I think that does kind of work. You know what I mean? Yeah. No one would say that. Who was it you said before Magic? I forget now.
Barkley.
You just said
Barkley.
Yeah. Barkley. It's like, I don't think of that. I don't think of him as a Barkley type player, but then if you look at the numbers, it's like, okay, yeah, he scored 30 points a game, but it's more like, was he the leading scorer on the team? It's like, okay, well, Scottie is the leading scorer on the Raptors. Like, put Scottie on that team. Maybe, not the same generational type talent, maybe, but like they're serving the same purposes and roles and that kind of sort of thing. Anyway,
and I mean,
I love questions like this. It's the best. There's just a million
it's fun.
answers.
It's a fun thought exercise. Scottie, I mean,
he's
like, I was just looking, I think it's like 15 field goal attempts a game, 3 or 4 free throw attempts a game. Like those are going to go way up, right? Like, especially free throws. It's like, man, he's going to be the guy who gets to the line on our team, hopefully. Right. So, I could see that being a huge jump for him. Yeah, well, let's jump to the second question because this is sort of a thought exercise too. By the way, Blake Murphy did a really, really good piece on Scottie Barnes and the cap implications and some of the things we can expect going forward with Scottie locked up. And there's a point of his article where he was talking about like sort of like presumptive like crew going forward before you get into the Garys and the Bruce Browns. But it's basically, Scottie, IQ, who you got to assume we're gonna ink up here. RJ, Yak, Grady, Kelly Olynyk, Ochai, Baji, and then the 2 picks. So we'll see how the picks factor in, that sort of thing. But obviously the cap and the money we have and all those things are going to like really define what we can actually have. Watching guys like Monk get signed, we're like, shit, right? But like putting all that like realistic stuff aside here, I thought it'd be another fun exercise to think about, this core, right? Like however good you think this team is this year, who's the worst player in the league that you could just sort of grab from their current team and put on this Raptors team to make that Raptors team an instant contender? And shout out to Matt McCready, because he sort of gave me this thought exercise a long time ago. It's a fun way to think about what a team needs in an idealistic version. So, Curly, I went to you first last time. Andy, do you want me to go to you? Give Curly a little bit of buffer here.
Yeah, no worries. Absolutely. No, I can do it. So the worst, again, make this clear to everyone. We're talking about the worst player that we can add to make us a contender, right? Not to win the whole thing. So
like we could add Boban, who's the worst player, right? But I don't think he's going to make this Raptors team a contender.
I think it needs a pretty big ad, right? I'm gonna say.
It's going to be a very good player. Yeah,
you know what I mean. I love this squad. I love these guys. I think they're in the right direction. I think we're going to see this season. They're going to get to really finally play a real season together. Ideally, hopefully, right? Knock on wood. I think they're going to grow. I think it's going to be good. That being said, I think you need to add a very good player to this team to make them a contender.
Yeah.
So my answer might be, and I'm thinking of also kind of fit on the team a little bit too.
Please think of fit. This is what I want.
And my answer might be boring, but I think it's Nikola Jokic. I think you have to add the best player in the league to make this team a contender right now. I really do. I seriously do. I don't think adding anyone less than him is going to make this team a contender. I don't think adding Antonio. I don't think adding like oh my god, who?
Are you gonna say Antonio?
Carl, I think no.
I thought you were going to say Antonio Davis.
I was going to say yeah. By the way, bring back Antonio Davis, right? Let's just do that.
Bring back Dale Davis. Bring back Antonio Davis.
No, I was going to say Anthony Davis. And I went with Anthony Davis instead. No, you can't add Anthony Davis, add AD, add Cat. These big guys who can shoot, who are even bigger and better. Like I don't think they even make us a contender.
I
the
agree.
way
we're not a contender
that we're thinking of, right? Yeah. Like those guys are very good, but like I think you need to add the best and a guy who can like fully take over the game. And there's only, I mean, 1-2 players like that in the league. I think there's only one really fully take over and just dominate the way the game is going, so that's a boring answer though. You know what I mean? Am I missing someone? Maybe am I like, I mean, is there someone like if you add Giannis, does that make the team
for sure
a contender? A contender? I could.
Definitely it does. I think.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So maybe I'm thinking too. Maybe I'm too high. No, it's not even the squad.
Giannis also a perennial MVP. So it's.
Like, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Not really going. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I want to hear you guys' answers, and I want to talk. But that's my answer.
Curly.
Because okay. Because think about it.
Hey,
the rest of the team isn't as good as the Nuggets. You know what I mean? So like. How do we like? It's even questionable whether that's true. So, anyways, but then again, I'm more thinking of actually winning the whole thing. So, contender, get into the playoffs. Is that what you mean, or do you mean like top 4, top 5?
I mean like.
Okay,
finals.
no, I stand by it. I stand by it.
Like
I stand by it.
This Mavs team.
Did you consider the Bucks top 4, top 5? Did you consider the Bucks to be a real contender this year?
I did heading into the playoffs, but I was very wrong.
Heading into the playoffs, you did.
Yeah, I thought that.
Okay.
I thought the Bucks were awesome. I thought they.
I guess because of the injuries. Yeah, you're right. It was more of an injury thing. You're right. Now that I'm looking back on it, but still, I'm kind of with Curly shaking your head over there. I'm kind of with you because like the top 4 teams in the league, I didn't include the Bucks in there, even with both of them, right? Like the way they were playing. So just to add Giannis, I don't know actually.
Let me add one qualifier here, and
Okay.
this goes to both your guys' points. So I feel like it actually might even be a little bit higher than this, but my general like, are you a contender? Are you not a contender? Is do you win 60% of your games? And the Bucks won 0.598, so 59%. So they did not. So in the East, the contenders by that metric was the Celtics and the Knicks. And then in the West, it was the Thunder, the Nuggets, the T-Wolves, the Clippers, and the Mavs. So by that, like winning 60% of your games metric, there was 7 teams with the Suns and the Bucks right almost there.
I won't go too far in it, but I do think it's an MVP level player.
Okay.
Anyways, I'm nuts.
To
I'm
support
nuts.
my point, to support the point about the Bucks, I thought that their starting 5, if they were healthy, would have been good. My concern with them was always their bench. Like they did not have that depth. I thought that losing Drew Holiday was a huge loss for them, and you saw how much Drew Holiday elevated the Celtics to the point of winning a championship. Like that, I feel like they were missing that security blanket when Dame and Giannis wasn't available. Because I think Chris Middleton is what he is. He, when healthy, he can give you 15 on a bad night, 20, 25 on a good night. But I think there was a lot of factors that kind of, would affect their depth and or their playoff run, so to speak. So like I always thought they were going to be a good regular season team. I mean, when you have Dame and Giannis, like, come on, you are going to win some games. But I thought that they were very limited as a collective, and that outside of those 2 guys, like who was going to be that third guy? Like for the Celtics, for example, and I probably going to get some heat for giving the Celtics so much love because I don't really like them. But Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, their third guy was Derek White. So when those guys had a bad game, he picked them up. And I thought that the Bucks really missed that this year without Drew Holiday. Though he wasn't a very good playoff performer, he was very inconsistent on the offensive end, right?
Yeah, I mean he has one of the best highlights of all time though with that steal and lob to Giannis for the championship. I mean, he's a winner. Like if you're the Pelicans, if you're Zion, you're like, wait, we traded Drew, and then he won 2 rings with 2 different teams. What's going on? Yeah, he doesn't have big stats, but Drew is an absolute winner. But yeah. So point taken, point heard. I agree. And they don't fit that well. They don't fit the metric, right? So they're not a 60% win team. So Curly, who's the worst player this Raptors team could add to be like win 60% of their games?
So I'm keying in on worst. Okay, that word. Okay?
Get in there.
I'm thinking we're the Raptors. We're in Toronto. I'm thinking a division rival. I'm thinking a former MVP. I'm thinking Joel Embiid.
Oh,
I think the
love that. Love that.
storyline is perfect.
Very good. Mm-hmm.
It's perfect. We hate him. We're gonna be forced to love him. But as a player, this is a guy that is like can easily be a 30 and 10 every single night if he's healthy. This is a player that is going to impact you on both ends of the ball. This is a player that is going to command double team, triple teams. That's going to make everyone's life easier. Like just imagine a transition possession where you have RJ on one side, Scottie on the other, and Joel Embiid bringing up the ball. Like what are you doing with that? There's only 2 options: is either you get out of the way or you're probably going to end up on a poster. But I look at how he's evolved his game. being a perimeter threat, being somebody that can affect you inside and outside. I look at a player that has become a slightly a better passer and reacting to double teams a little bit better. Does he embellish a lot of his possessions? Yeah, absolutely. But I felt that the Raptors were kind of robbed of that opportunity. They didn't really have that difference maker that can slow the game down and really generate opportunities when they weren't none, or if they were on the receiving end of an 8-0 run, like who was going to be their go-to to kind of, help stop that run and, reestablish yourself into that game. And I think that, and maybe I'm giving Joel Embiid too much credit, but he is a difference maker, whether you love him or hate him. And he's
amazing.
he's one of the best players in the league, easily when healthy. But yeah,
He almost averaged 35 points.
Yeah, there you go.
He played 39 games, but he averaged 34.7 points.
That's insane.
Like, that's absurd.
Yeah.
I definitely think, and Embiid, Giannis, Jokic immediately makes the Raptors a contender, in my opinion. So I'm going to push this. I think I can find someone worse than those guys. I think I can find a couple of guys worse than those guys that could make this Raptors team a contender. So I'm going to start with, maybe I'll float this guy first because I think I can go a little bit lower even, but division rival. I don't like him. Didn't have the best finals, but this guy is just like an absolute bucket, pretty flawless player. The Raptors had Jason Tatum. Do you think that they're
so?
I think so. I think you pluck Jason Tatum and you put him on this Raptors team, and all of a sudden the Raptors are, I think they win. They might not be like an incredible contender, or they might not be like the favorite, but I feel like they're legit.
You think they're going top? You think they're going to be amongst the top like 5-6 teams in the league if they had Jason
I think
Tatum?
so. I think so.
We're just a Jason Tatum away from being that team.
Yeah, just the Jason Tatum.
Yeah. Well, that's the question, right? We're simply with the addition of Jason Tatum, then we become a top 5 team. I think you've gone mad.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
I think you've absolutely gone mad.
Listen, 27 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists.
He's not getting that on the Raptors, though. You know what I mean?
I mean,
he gets that playing with a very like complete starting 5 in Boston. Like we have, again, I love our guys. Don't get me wrong, but we're a team in development right now. That's a team that has been developed. You know what I mean?
Okay, so you're probably not going to like this. Anthony Edwards.
All right.
Anthony Edwards. Ant-Man.
You've gone mad again. I like this one better, though. I do like this one better.
But okay, Ant-Man. I think Ant-Man and Jason Tatum, they both strike me, maybe I'm wrong, as guys that would get theirs, period. Like, period, end of story. On any team.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. You're right that they're good enough guys. They're going to score.
Well, and I think that this team if this team got a wing that could just score at will, I even was going to push it all the way and say Devin Booker, but I'm like, I think he doesn't bring enough else. So that's sort of, Booker's like my cutoff kind of, where I'm like, yes, amazing shooter, huge amount of points, but I don't think that he does enough other stuff to make this. And also I feel like, given, I mean, obviously he's better than RJ and quickly, but like, given those guys can hopefully lock down their position, I was really sort of keying in on a small forward or a center for this
same
question.
And I mean, we haven't mentioned it. What about like, so if you're going to go, okay, well, you're going farther down the list, it seems, whereas Curly and I were staying pretty near the top. Does SGA? I mean, I know Freddie, you must think obviously he does, but
definitely
do we think SGA does? I think that's a decent one. I think you could go there as well.
SGA, we win it all, and we don't lose a game the whole way.
I love it. I love it. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's got to be MVP level. Like, I don't think Tatum, and I love it, but I don't. Ant-Man is like, get him on the team and then watch these guys go for a few years. Then I'd say, yeah, for sure. But
okay, you drop
right
KD,
away.
You drop KD on this team. What do you guys think?
No.
Really? Curly?
No.
Drop KD on this current team.
KD is like so good, obviously. Like, we're talking all time, but like, I feel like he doesn't have the patience to play on a team like this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
He
he
barely
might
has the
just be like,
patience.
fuck you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, he barely has the patience to play on like fucking like all-star teams. Like, what's he gonna do on our team where he's got to be like, okay, Emmanuel, quickly, here's how you shoot the ball. You know, like you know what I mean? He's got to he's got to have to do so much work as like a leader, and I feel like he's just not cut out for that sort of stuff.
So
Yeah.
I like KD in the sense that I feel that we can kind of have him in a Kawhi protected role, like kind of load manage KD.
Exactly.
I see the
That's what I'm talking
vision, man. I
Thank
like
you.
it. Save him for the playoffs, and then Slim Reapers
Save him
unleashed.
for the playoffs. Save him. We're getting to the playoffs without him, and then bring him in.
Okay, hear me out.
I love our positivity. It's wonderful.
What do you guys think about Danny Avdia?
I'm in 100%.
Okay.
Man,
Um,
top 5, easy top 5.
let's do this is all thought exercises. Let's jump to the NBA. I've tasked you guys with fixing the NBA draft. Whatever that means to you. So, you like Adam Silver's like, listen, we can't have people tanking all the time. What are we gonna do here? How are we gonna change the draft? We put in the play in, and it's not working. There's still like 6 or 7 teams that are trying to be bad, right? What are we gonna do? Like, we're not Europe. We can't add relegation. It's not gonna happen. So like, how are we gonna like, use the draft to make this league better? Curly, what do you think?
Not gonna lie, I had a hard time figuring out what I could do to fix the draft. If Adam Silver came to me today and said, "Curly, I need you to fix the draft. We're living in the era of parity, what would you suggest?" And this might be lazy,
Sure.
but I think you have to win a certain amount of games to be considered a lottery team. So let's say, if you have, less than 20 wins, you have the lowest odds to get a high pick. But if you're winning a certain amount of games, like you're competing and you're trying to go for it, then you could be rewarded with a higher chance of getting a good ping pong ball.
I love this. I feel like the NHL tried something like this. That's like at some point, like I feel like they tried something where, because a friend of me and Andy's a guy's been on the pod as well. Shout out Gary Rideout. I remember him talking about there's something where the NHL did where like from the moment you won, or the moment you were eliminated mathematically from the playoffs, every win after that point got you like better odds to then get a high draft pick. And I don't know if they were thinking about this or if they like did this for 1 year or whatever, but I remember hearing about that concept from him.
It may have been a one of those things where like the GMs vote on whether or not they're going to consider it.
I think so, yeah.
And maybe it was tabled in that way, but it was never. I know it was never brought in as an actual thing.
But something to that effect, though. I think Curly's sort of where I mean,
that's a very
that's
a very interesting idea.
Yeah.
I don't think it's lazy at all. It's great.
So a team that gets eliminated like earlier, like a really bad team, they're just adding balls to the lottery essentially, right? Like if they can win a bunch more. So it's actually kind of good to tank to a point. Right? Get yourself out of those playoffs right away but then start winning, right? Then let's start winning. So like, okay, so it does give you an incentive at a point to play well, which is interesting. And I think there's a mini tank in there, a mini tank possibility. Yes. But I think you're never going to be able to eliminate it completely, right? So unless you do my idea.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, okay.
It's a bottom, let's say 8 in the entire league tournament. And there's a 1-game tournament for 8 teams to see who gets the number 1 pick. You have to win your tournament. No, tanking
So-
doesn't matter
I-
at all now. Just to be in it.
I can dig it. I like that.
So
So
is
you
this
add,
like
what, 3 games
is this
on to
like
the end of the
play-in
season?
style where it's sort of like you have you like this is like also like part of the regular season, or it's like regular season is done, these guys are ready to go home, and you're like Raptors
Oh
come
no,
back
regular
here.
season's done. Get
I
back
don't
here.
care.
You're playing 3 games, right?
Yak,
To
are you
see-
injured? Scotty, are you injured? Too bad, boys. We're
Doesn't
playing for
matter.
picks. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The season
Stay
ends
healthy,
in
but
July.
be bad. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just
Or it's
tons
like
of
you do
injuries.
it. You do it like just before the draft. Like you do it after the finals. Push the draft back a few weeks or whatever, or maybe 1 week. Throw this little tournament in the middle there. Have it happen in Vegas. You know, they all like to do that, and then we'll see who gets the number 1 pick.
Okay.
I actually like the other idea better. I think that the no joke, I really do. That's a really good idea. Anyways,
Okay, here's mine. Absolute chaos.
all right, love it.
So you just are like I'm done with tanking. I'm done with tanking. Here's what we're gonna do. It's a 30-team ping pong ball, equally weighted lottery. The Boston Celtics could get the first overall pick.
Oh, what a disaster!
And
I hate
and
this.
the only rule we're gonna do is that if you can't get the first overall pick, like you can only get it once within a 5-year period. So if you're the Hawks, right, who jumped from play-in to first overall this year, that's your first overall. When we do the first overall, your name is taken out, and it's a 29 teams or whatever. Get a shot at the first overall. Then after the first overall is there, which is the most consequential pick, in NBA history, then everyone gets thrown back in there. So if there's just zero incentive to tank, period, end of story. Because every year,
but also the worst team might never get a draft pick. Might never get a first overall draft pick.
So they just got to be.
Feels unfair.
It would be unfair, but listen.
Freddie's like, screw the small markets. Screw
like
them.
what if you have like it's mathematically possible to have like the top 5 teams just always win the draft every year. That sucks.
Yeah, you know what? My idea sucks. Curly's is good, and I actually love small markets, so I feel like I've betrayed myself.
There's something to a completely randomness, but the idea of the draft is the way it is, obviously, to help teams that need talent, right? So,
but it incentivizes losing.
It does incentivize losing.
The key
for sure,
problem is that it incentivizes losing, which in a sport you don't want it. You don't want there to be an incentive to lose.
Here's the thing about me: I don't actually hate tanking. I even as
I get it.
You could argue whether or not we tank. Yeah, but like here's the thing: like I'm watching my team. If we're terrible, I'm kind of I'm like either okay with tanking at that point, or I'm like, well, I disagree with this tanking and I don't like it, but at least we're going to get a good player out of it, probably. Do you know what I mean? Like, I personally, I'm not saying there isn't any problems with tanking. There definitely, I definitely can see many of the problems, but I don't know. Me personally, I'm like, I think maybe I'm just so like, this is just a part of sports to me. You know what I mean? Like,
it is.
I've just kind of been, I'm so complacent about it.
I think
sorry, go ahead, Curly.
Oh, sorry, Freddie. I think for me, I think tanking is acceptable if like all your best players are injured, like how the Raptors were kind of muddling through a bunch of players. I think then it's probably acceptable in my book. But anything beyond that, like if you got like a healthy Kawhi Leonard, for example, and you're just not playing him because of whatever reason, right? I think that kind of takes away from the whole enjoyment of sports. But I'm saying, but if you have like, take the Raptors, for example, if your best players are injured and, freakishly or not, I say throw in the towel and see what happens.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I feel like, Scottie hurts his hand, Jakob hurts his hand, and you're basically like, okay, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Let's try to lose. But, you're OKC and you're like, it's 40 games left. Let's shut down Shea for no good
Yeah.
reason. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh man, that's bad for the product. And
What's
it's
the
like
most
people will be
what's
like,
the
oh
most
yeah,
egregious tanking
OKC's
ever?
good now. It's like they are good, but
Yeah.
it's pretty
What-
egregious.
What's the worst example of tanking ever, do you think? In this league or any other, if for some reason you can think of a different one. But
I mean, it's got to be the Sixers and the current Thunder, right? Like the current Thunder's not as bad, but the Sixers were like player agents were furious. The NBA had to intervene and fire their NBA basically like
yeah.
brought in Jerry Colangelo to be like, we need to clean this up. It's like sullying the sport. And player agents were like, they're just ruining they're ruining careers, right? They're just like messing with, and then again, can you blame Sam Hinkie for coming in and being like, hey, wait, so this is an incentivized thing. So I'm not just going to be bad for a season. I'm going to be heinous for many seasons.
Yeah.
And anytime there's even like a fraction of a good player, I'm going to trade them for a pick because I want to accumulate, I want to hoard picks. And, as someone that's not into tanking, I always love looking at the like Miami Philly comps over like that same span of time because they have an equal amount of all-stars. Miami has used 14, somewhere like 11 or 14 picks, and the Sixers have used 40 picks in that same period of time.
Oh,
and Miami's won a lot more. And so it's like, but I mean, hey, the Thunder, teams might just be also doing it better now, right?
yeah, I think that's also a fair point. I'll throw in an idea that just occurred to me, and
Sure.
I could be speaking, without being properly educated on this.
Get in there,
thought.
Curly. I'm in.
But force all these cheap ass owners to go and make an affiliate team for their team, like let them have a farm system, and allow and force that team, or the affiliate team, have them compete. Like, how they have the G League championship. Well, the championship for your team is the number one pick. So you got to develop your squad. You got to, invest in something. Invest in your future.
That's actually pretty cool.
You know what I mean?
So like the Raptors 905 are competing for like
the number one pick.
That's kind of interesting. I mean, I think everyone would watch that like the season, the G League season would have a lot more eyes on it. And those guys are all competing for contracts too. So like they're going hard, right?
Yeah. Double the incentive. See,
that's interesting.
Right?
We'd see like top picks being like, they're like, yeah, Scottie, you got to play for the 905 this year. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. That's a whole different kind of tanking there.
Scotty's being sent down.
Yeah.
Wembanyama is just like Spurs are like, sorry, now we're gonna play him in the G League for one more year.
Record numbers of two-way contracts. Like it's will you take a two-way, go down to the G League?
That's fun. That's a cool idea.
That is interesting. That is very interesting. You run the risk again of making it be like there's one G League team that just constantly gets the first round pick every year, and they're just like keeping them there. Like you keep all those players in like on the G League team for like 3 years, and then bring them all up at once, and that would be interesting.
What's cool about that though is people would like if there was like, let's say the Raptors 905 were like won the G League championship, like the Raptors only can claim like 3 of those guys, so the rest of that squad, the league's going to be like, give me this guy and put him on my team.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it forces the teams to not really be lazy in that department. Cause I feel like, and I'm just speaking from the Raptors perspective, it just seems like there's been a lot more misses than hits when it comes to draft picks, even in the later rounds. So maybe it might even incentivize the front office to kind of put together a decent program for development, because we're hearing the conversations around this front office is that, they want the young players to have, I guess, more attention or more opportunities to develop their game. And I think, well, you have a farm system, so to speak. Why not develop those guys and create an environment where winning is an expectation? So go out there, be the best version of yourself. I'm kind of spitballing it, but like you might tweak the mentality of a player where they're not only competing for that contract, but they also want to show this organization that they care about winning. They want what's best for the franchise. You know what I mean? Maybe the ideology might be different.
Yeah. No, I think. Sorry, go ahead, Andy.
No, mine was not related. So carry on.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah. No, I think like this is the type of like conversation Adam Silver needs in his world. Us just like strategically thinking about how to do how to make this league better.
Yeah.
Can we trademark this conversation? Because I feel like somebody's going to get rich off our idea, and I'm going to be very upset.
Me too.
Patent pending. Homer Simpson, right? Patent pending.
I was looking at like when if you search like what's the most like one of the worst examples of tanking of all time, almost all of the articles written about it are about the NBA, which is kind of funny. Although certainly it's happened in other sports. But one thing I just saw I had to tell you guys, maybe this is very funny. The Houston Astros were during their rebuilding years of 2011 and 2013. They this is used as an example of tanking, like being way too bad. Like it hurt their fan base a lot. They lost an average of 108 games per season.
Oh my god!
The team's attendance was cut in half, and it's the thing that made me laugh. One game had a television rating of 0. No one was watching. A television rating of 0.
Wait, sorry, this is the.
How does that even happen? This is the Houston Astros in like 2011, 2013. Yeah, I mean they did go on to win World Series though, right? That team, they cheated. Very notably,
they also
but rough stuff.
Imagine tanking, having 0 ratings, and then when you do win a championship, it's like, but you actually like cheated, like you were caught, and like
I can understand the desperation almost. That almost makes me like understand why they cheated. Not to say it's okay, but to be like, oh well, they were like, we have to win this World Series, or this team is dead. We had a rating of 0. Like, well, But yeah, I mean, there's no like one agreed upon team that tanked the worst. But one of the more recent ones is Dallas from last year, not getting into the play-in, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're right. You're right. I forgot about that.
Which is like a weird example of like one game tanking.
Yeah.
And even then, I don't think that made any sense. Really, right? Like I think that 9 out of 10 owners in the league would say would absolutely not do that. But Mark Cuban's just.
It's also so funny to me.
Psycho.
And this is what maybe this is sort of already fixed with this type of outcome, but it is so funny to me that the Hawks were in the play-in and got the first overall pick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so that's hilarious too. Okay, let's wrap it up with this. Just a last little fun question. It's officially the summer. Some player, some personality, someone's going to do something preposterous and just get roasted and be the laughing stock for at least a week. So, Andy, let me go to you first. Who's an NBA player personality that's just going to do something insane? And what is that? And how's it go down?
Oh my God. Okay. In the wake of the NBA Finals, I think we're going to see Luka Doncic. We're going to see him we're going to see him surface again here. The finals are over. We haven't heard much from Luka. He's gone back to, where's he from again? Slovenia,
yeah.
Right? Yeah, okay. He's gone back to Slovenia, but okay, I feel like he's coming back. He's going to come back to North America. He's going to be on the streets of Dallas, and he's just going to get loaded up, party hard, and he's going to wear a Jason Tatum jersey, and he's going to egg pancake house.
Huge. I didn't know where that was going.
I didn't
thought you were
either
gonna-
until
I
I
thought you were gonna say
finished
he
it.
came back and he was like ripped or something, but just
Yeah.
like
No.
being
No.
hammered, wearing a Tatum jersey,
He's
and
just
egging
on his own by himself too.
Like-
He's going out for a hot night out, just him.
Like,
He's gonna be
egging-
wearing.
egging a breakfast place. That's
Yes.
good shit, dude. That's good
Yeah,
stuff.
dude.
Like
He's gonna be like, I was gonna say Boston pizza, but they don't have
No.
those in the States.
No, you
But that
gotta
would make
egg-
way more sense.
honestly,
Fine.
like-
He's gonna come to Edmonton. He's gonna go to Toronto or Calgary or something, and he's gonna egg a Boston pizza. There you go.
Nah. He's got to egg a Waffle House, man. That's the key. That's the best part of your story. Egg a pancake.
Okay,
place.
you're okay. Never mind. I go
Yeah.
back on it.
Or pancake and egg place. It's good shit.
And yeah, it's TM. What did you say? TMZ. They're gonna be there.
TMZ
They're gonna
worthy.
know what's up. They're gonna know what's up.
That's good. Okay, Curly, who's your what's happening here?
Wasn't sure where I wanted to go, and I'm thinking we're gonna have another Draymond Green story. He's
Yeah.
going to attempt to punch somebody else, but this time he gets rocked,
Oh my God, yes, like Jake
By,
Paul
like-
or some shit. Like,
right? Or like Jonathan Kuminga just like decks him.
oh my God, that would be so good.
You just see him.
I also
slumped
love
in
the idea
corner.
of like a missed punch.
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah,
good stuff.
no, I think another Draymond controversy song, but this time he's on the receiving end.
That's good shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, mine's just I'm like I don't know why, but I'm feeling like JJ Redick's got a lot of like I'm a TV guy now. I'm a coach. He's got a lot of like I'm a cool guy. See if you can handle me energy. And I feel like guys like that they're ticking time bombs to do something like really dumb or really embarrassing or like maybe offensive. And I don't know what it's going to be, but like if I'm in Vegas, put me down for like a viral JJ Redick dick pic. Like he's just
No, fair.
He just
Yours is
fi-
like actually possible and likely.
he just fires off a dick pic to somebody, and then it's just sort of like it's JJ playing the violin, holding his dick, like you know what I mean. It's like it's something like that. Like it's I don't know. Yeah, put me down for JJ Redick dick pic.
Is JJ single? Is he single guy?
I don't know. Maybe that's part of the controversy.
Oh, okay. Big controversy. Maybe he's married and we don't even know that, and it's
Yeah.
a big huge scandal. Okay.
Like maybe he emails it to himself, maybe something like that.
Hey,
using a
just-
Lakers laptop.
Always remember what this looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, in case you
Yeah,
forget,
yeah.
this is where he's at.
And then it's like, yeah, he's like, that's how I inspire myself. And people are like, what the hell, man?
What the hell, man? Just look down your own pants.
Yeah,
Anytime you
it's
want.
right. It's right there.
Or do you mean? Do you think he makes his own dick play a violin? Is that what you're saying?
No, I had him like fully playing the violin, but just
Oh,
like,
him playing the violin.
yeah, or maybe violins in
Takes-
the back. I don't know.
Takes two hands to play a violin, though. Just his wiener's hanging out.
It's just hanging out.
Or just like fully at attention, like just
At
rock.
attention, yeah. Totally. he's got a jig
All right.
going.
That's it. That's the end of the show.
That's a good place to wrap it up. Hey, let me just say, everyone, enjoy the draft. Raptors Republic is going to be having a fun hang at Three Brewers, so make sure you go to that. It's going to be, it was a great time last year. I had a blast. I said this last pod, but we did chant, "We got Dick." It's fucking funny.
Great.
Great time.
Yeah. So
stuff.
it was great. It was pretty great. Okay. Curly, what's up? Plug the pod. Tell people the good stuff, how they can find you and everything.
Before I get into that, I appreciate you guys bringing me on again. It's always a blast.
Yeah,
I
man.
never have any expectations because I just want us to have something authentic every single time, and it's always a blast. So I appreciate you guys bringing me on. It's always so much fun. As for me, I just finished doing a draft pod with our guy Samson and Trey from the Pull Up Trade podcast. Yeah, you can find me on all your streaming platforms at Live by the Three Raptors podcast, and give me a follow on. I almost said Twitter. Is it still called Twitter? We'll call it Twitter.
Call it Twitter.
Call it Twitter.
Yeah. Like this X nonsense. Follow me on Twitter at Live by the 03. But yeah, no, we're gonna be doing a post pod after the draft. Now that the draft is like 2 days, so it'll probably be a weekend pod. But yeah, check it out when you can.
Hell yeah, check them out, everybody. Subscribe to Raptors Republic. And Andy, what's up? Got any plugs?
No.
Sick. No plugs from Andy.
All right, cool.
No,
Awesome.
nothing really going on.
Cool. I guess go Oilers. If you listen to this, that already happened. But
You already know who won. Yeah.
you already know who won. But go Oilers still. I guess it's
Place your bets now.
Place your. I'll say this. I hope that the riots were safe, because I think there's going to be a riot, win or lose.
Yeah.
I hope that they were safe and fun. Okay. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.